Good afternoon, this is Richard from Jonesboro Taekwondo Dojang. We're going to continue our little series on basic Taekwondo techniques. Last time we went over, the last two videos, we went over knife hand strikes. So we're going to add in a couple of different ones today to go along with that. So we showed you the outside knife hand, okay, or cross cut, and how it comes from basically up here behind the ear, palm in, and flips over at the last second. So what I was going to show you now is the back fist, okay, which starts from the same position, of course, fist, closed fist, and comes out and rolls into the target. So you're actually flipping the hand at the last moment the other way, okay, thus, and you're rolling. Now what you're doing there, as you can see, there's an arch to my wrist here. It's extended. The purpose for that is to bring these two knuckles backhandedly in contact with the target. You don't want to hit with these metacarpal bones here, these nice little skinny long bones in the hand. So it's not a back slap. You definitely don't want to hit with these two fragile bones right here. So this is your weapon right here. Same two bones as you are hitting with your punch, but you're rolling the back of that surface into your target. Now, this is a good technique for sparring and for tournaments, really quick. You can flash it out there. Target is the head, okay? But it's really easy to hit the head gear, padded source, when you're wearing padded knuckles with a back fist. If you're going to use it for a self-defense technique, you've got to condition these knuckles. Just think about it. You're hitting for the head. There's only a few soft targets on the head. You're not really going to get a good strike on the neck because you're going to have trouble rolling that hand and getting in there with any penetration. Okay, really easy to go to the head, but you're going to a hard bony surface with a hard bony surface there. That skull is probably tougher than most people's knuckles. Okay, so this will work great against the nose, work great against maybe the maxilla or the eye, jawbone. But what if you miss, he jerks his head to the side, which he's going to, and you crack into his skull? It's really going to sting him. It may really hurt you. Okay. So if you're going to use a back fist as a self-defense weapon, you've got to condition these knuckles maybe on that makiwara, that brick wall over there, or something along those lines. Okay. So the other technique, cousin to the knife hand and the back fist, would be the hammer fist. Doesn't take a lot of conditioning to use that. Plus you can add in this forearm here. So it's going to come and it's just going to turn over very simply, just like the knife hand strike. Okay. And of course you got your retreating hand that's grabbing, pulling, or feeling. Okay. But there's your striking surface right there. You've got a little bit of padding there, so you can get away with going to the head just like you could with a knife hand strike. Okay. Or if you're going for the nose or the eye or something like that, and you miss and hit the skull, you can still do a lot of damage. And you can lay into it pretty good with a hammer fist, okay? And it may not have a lot of weapon penetration against a skull, but it's going to bounce that brain around a little bit, okay? If you're throwing your full power into that strike, then you're going to have the effect of that brain moving within the skull, which is desirable if you're trying to knock someone out. Okay, so back fist, hammer fist, rolls over at the last moment, just like the knife hand. Okay, if I'm going for the neck, this is a little bit wide. If he's got his chin ducked, he's trying to protect himself, you're going through the shoulder, it doesn't slide in quite as nicely as a knife hand. But you got to remember he's moving around and such too. So you can strike with this bone in here, a forearm smash, and if he ducks back, you've still got your hammer fist right here. Okay. So this self-defense wise is your better weapon. Okay. Kind of hard to beat the back fist for scoring points in a tournament. or doing controlled sparring. But if you're wanting to use it as a weapon, you got to really condition that knuckles, and you got to be accurate, okay? Another angle to throw it on, of course, with a hammer fist. You can kind of picture the hammer in my hand right there, coming down on the nose or collarbone, right here on the clavicle, okay? Unlikely to hurt your hand, pretty likely to be able to put a pretty devastating strike down on someone. You'll see some of the pullback in the forms in that, both with the back knuckle and the hammer fist, coming up to the chest. You can picture someone grabs you and you just pull, slam down on their arms. You got their head coming forward, and then it meets this, or roll that into the nose, okay? So again, I feel like you're gonna get a lot better impact off this hammer fist than you are off of the back fist, okay? But like I said, if you want to use the hammer fist as a self-defense weapon, barehanded, better condition those knuckles, okay? And now to throw a little bit more into it, we'll give you another self-defense hand technique. We don't use these in tournament and generally in sparring because it's a palm strike. We don't have much of any padding on the palm generally, okay? This is a self-defense technique. So you're going to basically curl the fingers back, and advanced students that know how to tighten up will open their hands a little bit, okay? Leave these up for doing damage to the eyes and such. But basically this is your striking surface right here, okay? Now for self-defense, this is a really good one for ladies who have smaller and more fragile hands, or don't like to do hand conditioning because it makes their hands look ugly, okay? Well, there's not much of any give on this palm. If you strike with this palm, you got your carpal bones in your wrist in a nice tight closed packed position, and there's no give on that palm, okay? Which is one of the reasons we don't use it in practice sparring, okay? So where are you gonna hit with this? Chiefly right here on the chin, maybe a little bit upward angle on the strike, or into the nose, either straight in or slightly up, okay? Easy to break a nose with this. Very easy to break a nose with this. And this chin target is pretty easy, relatively easy to knock someone out. That's what they used to call the button, or probably still call the button, the knockout button for boxers and such. You can jar somebody, again, is gonna bounce their brain around in their skull, potentially knocking someone out. Not as likely to damage your hand hitting a hard bony surface if you miss and hit them straight in the skull, okay? So there's your palm strike. It's thrown just like a punch, okay? You just open your hand and pop out like so and strike here. Now some of us in our board breaks will strike through with it angled like this to decrease the surface of the weapon. We do this a lot with board breaks. It's maybe not the best idea because you have a small bone there. You can feel it sticking out. It's called a pisiform. If you hit something hard enough with that, you could break that pisiform. I've broken boards with it a lot. If you're conditioned, it's usually not that big of a problem. But you know, the unstoppable force to the immovable object, you test it long enough, you may end up breaking that bone. And anytime you fracture your hands, that can be a potentially life-changing injury. So right here across this line is your striking surface. And think for self-defense, nose or chin. We'll also use it a lot with an armbar type technique. If you snatch a wrist and you're on the outside, you could go through the elbow like that and try to get a snap on that elbow, okay? But for most practical self-defense situations, it's going to be a palm strike to the chin or nose, okay? And that's all I've got for today. If you're getting anything out of this, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, especially my students. That's what I'm doing this for. But gets us a little bit of attention. We could use a few more students down here. So if you're interested, like it, subscribe, share it, and get a hold of us. All right, that's all for now.